Hi, I'm Bray Shamblin. This is South Gallia Today. As principal of South Gallia High School, I would like to thank the University of Rio Grande for allowing us to continue with our broadcast show throughout the 17-18 school year. Additionally, we would like to do a shout out to those in the Youngstown area watching on Perkins Community Television. We certainly thank you for joining us today and learning about not only Gallia County, but also South Gallia High School and South Gallia Middle School. And with me today is Mr. Jason Stout. He's a career tech teacher with Buckeye Hills Career Center here in Rio Grande, but also is stationed at South Gallia High School and helps us with various programs and opportunities for our students throughout the day. Mr. Stout, welcome. And a little bit about Mr. Stout. He's a graduate of our rival school and sister school, River Valley High School, from 1995. He is also a military veteran, serving in the United States Air Force, stationed at Travis Air Force Base in California, serving 2 tours overseas in Bahrain, Qatar, for Operation Southern Watch, Operation Enduring Freedom, and Operation Iraqi Freedom. He has also been a part of Hocking Community College in Nelsonville, Ohio, receiving his Associate of Applied Science in Audio and Video Engineering. He's also been a part of WSAZ and WOUWK in Huntington, West Virginia, and WSAZ in Charleston, West Virginia. He's a graduate of the University of Rio Grande. He has had significant experience in the tech field, working for computer tech support, as well as working with Marshall University, an inventory manager in IT, Holzer Hospital here locally in Gallia County. And currently he's in his 3rd year with South Gallia and Buckeye Hills, so he's been very, very experienced in managing and working in various avenues of the technological field. We're certainly very happy to have you at South Gallia, and it never ceases to amaze me what capabilities you have and what capabilities your students have in their classroom. And I just wanted to ask, why education? Why South Gallia? Why education after being in news and in the tech field?
Ever since I was young, my parents both are in education, and I've always wanted to do that, but math and English and history were not my strong suits. So once I was in the service, I got to learn a little bit more about technology, computers, and I found out that that's kind of really what I wanted to do. Kind of behind the scenes, I never wanted to be a reporter or an anchor or anybody actually on the TV. I let somebody else do that. Sure. But I always liked doing that. It was just something I enjoyed. And then when this opportunity came up for Buckeye Hills to actually teach something, give back to something that I just love, and it's an honor. It really is to teach kids every year and to watch them grow, and you actually see some that say, hey, that's something I want to do, and it's beautiful, really is. I mean, if we had had something like this in high school when I was there, I probably would have figured out right then, this is what I want to do.
That's awesome, and that's something that really speaks to me too. And when you mentioned math in college, I was very thankful that I only had to take 1 math class when I was in college, because I'm a history major and love anything having to do with history. But I also wanted to give back to kids, and anytime any person puts a child first and foremost, that is certainly a special person in my eyes, and that's something that I've certainly appreciated about you and what you continue to do with our students each and every day. We mentioned that you are in your 3rd year at South Gallia, and talk to us a little bit about from when you started to where you're at in terms of the programs and what you foresee for the future holistically for career tech at South Gallia.
Well, when I started, I knew a lot about the topic itself. As far as teaching it and getting that across, and getting other people to understand what's in my mind, that was a struggle. That was a huge struggle for me. So the first year, kind of rocky. I messed up. We all messed up. We did things completely wrong, but we learned from that. Sure. And and it's okay, I think, for students to see. Sure. That, hey, we're just people too.
Absolutely.
And that helps them learn, because then you get into the whole troubleshooting aspect of of what we do, and so that's a teaching opportunity there. Everything that we teach, from video to sound to graphic design, dealing with Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, different programs like that. Every year I find something that's more fun and more challenging to the students, and I think every year so far it seems like the kids are getting more and more into it.
Absolutely.
When I first got there, the students were kind of hesitant. Who is this guy? What's it going to be like? So my numbers were low. But every year numbers have progressed. Our program is getting a lot more interest, right. And hopefully we I want to keep that going. Right. And especially with the video crew, I would really like to get that going and get our streams out there more and more. Because right now we're probably only looking at 6 or 7 episodes of the news that we do. So, but hopefully in the future we'll get a handle on it.
And that's something that's been exciting to see. This is my 3rd year as well at South Gallia. After teaching there for a couple of years, I went away to Attaville Elementary on the north end of the county, was principal there, and then came back, and this is year 3, and it's been exciting to see the foundation being built within your classes, also within the whole school with all the different programs and things and exciting opportunities that we have. But it's been really neat to see what the students are capable of doing and what they continue to produce, and just things that I just go, wow, how in the world do you even do that? What would even be step 1? I can't even fathom that, and they seem to knock it out of the park each and every time that you put them to task on something, and that's been very exciting to see. And I know you wanted to show off some of the students' work and some of the things that they have been capable of doing. So if you would maybe just walk us through some of the images and things that that they continue to do in their classes.
Well, I have 2 programs called Design Techniques and Creating and Editing Digital Graphics. Well, by the state standards, they're more or less the same exact class. Mm-hmm. So I'm able to teach those 3 periods and kind of keep it all about the same. The downside of that is if you had to have a kid in the 2nd period and he's in 3rd period, it's the same exact class. So that's the downside, and I plan on moving that. Next year I'm actually getting rid of one of those classes and going straight web design.
Sure.
Once we get into that portion of it in the other class, I've seen a lot of interest. Students are saying, well, can we learn this or can we do this? And there's just usually not enough time.
Right.
But yeah, we start usually with photography. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of things with photography. This picture here currently is done in Photoshop, and it's one of our black and white to color. You typically see this style done in wedding photography. A lot of times you'll see the bride or the whoever's in black and white, and then they make the flowers in color. And it's a really awesome technique, and I actually had students that asked me, hey, have you ever seen this, or do you know how to do this? And that's what brought me to do this, because I wanted to show them, it's not that difficult to do. There are multiple ways to do it, and so we did it all these different ways. And so the students then get to kind of find their own way and say, well, I like using this technique, or I like using this technique. And it's really enjoyable to watch that when they finally finish a project like this one, especially. It's amazing, and the student actually took that picture as well. So he learned something from the photography that we had done early in the year, and kind of brought it in and said, "Can I use my own picture?" I said, "Absolutely." Right. And so he's got that nice blurred background. He set his aperture and shutter speed just like he was taught, and it really turned out to be a beautiful picture. Really did.
Very impressive.
This picture here. Is a little something we call double exposure. A lot of times throughout the year, I'll have them go on Google and say, hey, find me something. Mm-hmm. Find something that's interesting to you and that you guys want to learn how to do. And so they go out on Google and they look up Photoshop tutorials, or they something in particular, they'll Google it out. Well, this one they found, it was called double exposure, and there's different ways to do it. I told them they could use internet pictures, or they can use pictures that was taken of themselves. And this particular one I really like. Put the mountains inside the frame of the woman, and this one's actually a little more difficult. This is more towards the end of the year when they've learned the techniques. This is not something that you can start with by any means.
Yeah, I would say this is extremely impressive to look at, and something that you would see either in an advertising piece or a piece of art, you know, that you would see.
Absolutely. And that's what I try to tell them too, that, you know, this stuff, it's for fun. We have a good time with it. But, you know, I want them to go out in their world and look around. Right. I mean, look at the pictures you see every day, right. You know, from billboards to magazines. Here's a BPA. We haven't really talked about that yet, but I had them all make flyers. Flyers are probably the thing that I would think they'd see more of. Right. Just in their communities and, of course, in the schools. I mean, right. You've seen the flyers that we have.
And this is something that I know I've come to you time and time again, and you may get tired of seeing me come through the door, and I'll go, hey, I've got this idea. Can we do this? Or hey, this actually right here on Gallia County Takes a Stand. This is a student's piece of artwork, or a rendering from River Valley, who was just a complete rough pencil drawing that you were able to take and work together. And it's something really neat that the three schools between Gallia Academy, River Valley, and South Gallia are working towards together to raise awareness. But at the same time, just really neat that you were able to take just a piece of pencil paper drawing and put that out there, and really just constantly amazed by not only your capabilities but your students and what you're able to teach them each and every day.
And you know, the good thing about that picture, Jasper Johnson actually helped me out with that. And most of the time when we do things, I want it to be like a real world aspect. Right. I'm like, okay, here's what your client wants. Right. Okay, forget that it's Mr. Shamblin. Right. This is what your client wants. Right. And I usually have them, I didn't in this instance, but because it needed to be done quickly. Sure. But he put that together really quickly, within a day or two. Yeah. Put it together. Really impressed by the work that he did there. You know, most of the time I think that it took was, you know, waiting on one of the logos. Right. So it really wasn't even his fault to do that. But yeah, I mean, we try to meet with other teachers. Do you need anything? What do you need? Right. And I know, you know, Beta Club people, they need a lot sometimes. Here's one of the two. This is their favorite thing to do every year. So I keep that on the docket. It's creating a magazine cover. It can be anything. It can be made up. It can be like this. It was, you know, Jackson Mabe. He supposed to be Metropolitan, but he called it Mabopolitan. And you know, the things that these kids come up with, it really is. Desiree here, she made a beautiful cover there. She really got into it, and it was really about, you know, having fun with it, but using the knowledge that they have gained thus far, how to pull their self out of a background and put it in another background and make it look realistic. You know, most people probably think, well, it was in front of a green screen, right. But she wasn't. She took herself on the basketball court and put herself on that photo there, and it was really fun to do. This project here, we call it multiplicity, or cloning. This is another one that the kids really enjoy. I probably should have brought more than just the one, because it's hilarious, the things that some of these kids will come up with. You know, their atmosphere is just the school, but their minds are just so creative. Right. They're not held back by anything, literally. And you know, the things that they can do now, you know, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, is just awesome. There's Jasper Johnson. We mentioned him a minute ago. This is called our text portrait. This one was extremely difficult for a lot of kids. Yeah. It takes a lot of patience. This usually takes us about a week. Wow. To do this. Typically, the way we start out Photoshop is we start out with instructions. Okay, follow the instructions, 1, 2, 3, 4. But once we get to this point, it's use what you've learned. Right. And let's see if you can make it happen. And yeah, Jasper did a fantastic job here. Kids really enjoyed it. They got really frustrated. But I told them that's okay. You know, yeah. You have to learn to what's the problem? How do I fix it? Okay. Yeah. What do I want to do, or what does the client want? and let's make it happen. Okay?
And those are the skills that go just beyond the artwork or the actual grunt work into the project. You know, it's working with those people skills and how do you develop a relationship in a business professional setting.
Absolutely.
That takes it even further. Tell us a little bit about your news team that you have at South Gallia. I know we're on the news right now here on campus of the University of Rio Grande, but what does that look like for South Gallia with WSGHS News?
WSGH, that was, it sounds simple, but it really was not a simple process. The kids, it wasn't even just in our class, our 7th period class. I pulled all the classes in. I said, listen, I want to start a news station, you know, kind of see how it goes. We had no equipment, really not much space, as you know. Right. I mean, you know, we're space limited, and that's okay. We'll fly with it. That's how we do. But the kids really came together. They got excited about it. There was so many options. And of course, you know, I talked about how radio stations and TVs start with, you know, W, and then we got into the whole story about that. And so then they started thinking, okay, well, it needs to start with the W. Let's roll with that. And then someone said WSGH, and everybody's like, oh, that's too simple. But it's perfect. It really is. I mean, because that's who we are. Right. You know, we're South Gallia High. I mean, we are a middle school as well. Right. And the middle schoolers, I hear them all the time at lunch, you know, when's the news going to be back on? When's the news going to be back on? And really, anything that you can get for student participation, even if a kid's just, he sees himself on a TV, it's amazing. Right. And especially in the times that we are now, anybody can be on TV. It's called YouTube. You know, if you've got a phone that has a camera, you're good to go. Right. And so we try to incorporate as many teachers, as many students. Some of my students have actually asked, you know, what about like world news and stuff like that? I said, that's okay, we can do that. Right. Because I want people to know about this information. Right. But the majority of it, I want to be about the school. Right. Because, you know, that's where we are all day, every day. And, you know, if we can brighten a kid's day. Oh, absolutely. Especially just by, you know, hey, you're on that. And we do a whole segment, it's called birthdays. And so we go around getting whose birthdays are this week. And, you know, we put them up on the screen and sometimes interview them. It's amazing.
Well, I tell you,
kids really enjoy it.
It's been very nicely done. And I know you brought a clip of the intro for the news to be able to show us for today. That way those viewers watching us today can get a little bit of a taste of what the intro looks like for WGHS News. And as well, while that's maybe playing, if you could just tell us a little bit about, for the news team, what the future looks like next year for South Gallia News. Sure.
This clip here, this was completely student-made. I tried to... 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That was going to have sound. That's fantastic. It was completely student-made. They went out and randomly, you know, because we save everything, and you know, they went out and they picked their own clips. Of course, some students had more clips than others. Some really like being in front of the camera. Sure. Others not so much. You know, they learn about how putting that together with music, how to give it some sort of emotion. Right. Because I mean that's really what video is you know, to get people to feel what you want it to feel, and then they learn a little bit about lower thirds and you know what are lower thirds, you know how are they created. So this was also a chance for some of my previous students. Right. You know, like you see here, this was last year's students. They actually get to go back. And you just don't come into my class and do, okay, we're in video, so that's all you're going to do. These kids get to go back and do Photoshop. Right. That maybe they did a year ago or 2 years ago. And so we create all of our lower thirds in Adobe Photoshop. And so they get to just use what they've learned, but then add on top of what they're currently using, which we do all of our editing in Adobe Premiere, and it's extremely difficult. That is an industry standard. I mean, that's what they use in the industry, and the kids they get excited about that. It's not just some program that says here you can video edit. That you can do this as a career. You can get certified, a national certification in this program, and that's really what kind of Buckeye Hills wants us to do. They want us to teach these industry standard applications, and so the students can say, well, okay, now it's a lot of kids. You like you said, you taught. And the first thing they say when they come into class is what we're going to do today.
Yep.
So they know what they're going to do.
Right.
When they walk through the door, they know what's expected of them.
Right.
And they know what we're going to do that day.
Right.
Well, in essence, they know what we're going to do. There are some things that change, but they get to learn this stuff. And Buckeye Hills really wants us to push that. And then, towards the end of the year, I think I actually have 2 kids that are going to take the certification test.
And I think that's what's been exciting is the kids that take the initiative and are self-driven and self-motivated to help make this a success, because it's really taking a concept, and bringing it to life, and that's what's been really exciting to see over the last 3 years, and with the current students that we have, and what the future looks like. It's very exciting to see where this is going to go. I know you also have another major program that you work with, which is BPA. If you would, tell us a little bit about what BPA is and what that looks like for South Gallia and in the state of Ohio.
BPA stands for Business Professionals of America. It's a student organization, kind of like Beta Club or Key Club or FFA. It's a huge thing, not just in the state of Ohio, but nationwide. It's really, really big. And I didn't really grasp it the first year because, I didn't understand really what goes in to the competitions and things like that. And my first year, I didn't have anybody go to state.
Right.
Kind of a bummer. But again, I was new. The kids really didn't know what was going on. But the second year when we got to send 4 students to the state competition for BPA, and I walked in that auditorium, I was amazed. I for sure thought like Beta Club was bigger, and they were much bigger. This thing was huge.
Yeah.
It took up such an auditorium. Because there's just so many events that go along with the Business Professionals of America. It's business oriented, so there's a lot of financial. They do tests. Some do projects. They do presentations. They do video production, broadcast news, and so it's everything that I'm teaching, and then we get to kind of put it together and hopefully get some good results. We go to the regional contest, which is here at the University of Rio Grande, and this year we had 11 people go to state, whereas last year we only had 4, and then the year before that we didn't have any.
Right.
So things are looking up.
Absolutely.
Kids are starting to hear about it in the school. If they haven't had my classes, they're starting to hear about it, and it's getting them excited about it. And if I can have a kid excited walking into my class.
Absolutely. Well, and you even had some that placed in the top 10 this year.
I did. I had a presentation management team. That was the first year we've done it, was this year. We had a foreign exchange student from the Ukraine. He really took that over. It was his mission to get to the state, and they placed the top 10. That's the first time that we've been on the stage.
And see, that's absolutely fantastic.
It was amazing. I might have been more excited than they were. I was jumping and pumping my fist, and but just to see the look on their face when they got to go to the stage,
makes it all worth it.
It does. All the hard work. It was just amazing. My video production team, they got to go to state as well for the second year in a row. A different group of kids, but for video production did well. We did broadcast news team this year.
Wow.
Never done that before. and they placed second in regionals. So that was a big deal for me, even though they didn't get to go to state. But a lot of good things are happening with the program, and you know, with all of your all's support, really everybody, the teachers, because students will say, hey, you know, can we do an interview? Can we do an interview? They could easily say no, I'm busy,
right.
but they don't.
Right.
Everyone there, including you, all the teachers, all the students, they're 100% behind it. Hopefully we can get it moving and really make it happen. That's
something we've been very, very excited about, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this program is going to continue to go. And mentioning programs, this past weekend, in the beginning of the week, our high school beta as well as our middle school beta teams competed in Columbus at the state convention, with the high school taking second place overall in the state of Ohio, which for as small as the schools we are is extremely impressive for us, and very, very proud of our students. We also have students competing at National History Day at the state competition this weekend, and then a lot of wonderful things. Students moving on to the national level with national beta. Graduation coming up next month, so an exciting time over the next 4 to 5 weeks at South Gallia High School and South Gallia Middle School. So thank you for being with us today. Mr. Jason Stout, thank you for coming on the show and being with me.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Bray Shamblin. This is South Gallia Today. Thank you very much.